This week on the podcast, we got Phillip Wolf, who is fucking hip-hopping and singing his way to the motherfucking top. Doing it here locally in San Antonio and in Austin. What a rad dude. Cool guy. First time meeting him, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't, I was, not really into the scene, I guess you could say, and I didn't know too much about him. And I was approached by a buddy, actually Adam, who, if you remember from the Live to Lift episode, who runs that organization. He approached me about Phillip, and I looked into him, and I was, man, I was stoked. I was super hyped to get the connection and to touch base with Phillip and get together. And, we made it happen. And we recorded a real cool episode. I think it gives a good look into, more of his thought processes on his writing, his past and early exposure to music, and where he plans on taking this whole hip hop thing in the future. And I mean, you can see it. I mean, the guy is definitely on his way. He's doing things. So very, very awesome episode. And this week I'm going to start something a little differently, or I should say on the podcast. I started writing a lot lately, and much of how I fucking hate running, I don't like writing either. But these are things that I challenge myself to do because I have seen that through the process of doing them, that there is so much more to gain, that just the simple fact that I'm battling my, level of discipline and patience to do these things I don't want to do is far less important than what I benefit from doing these activities. And it's, real quick, I guess I could explain it as writing is it's like an exercise for your body, an active process for your body, or for your mind. I'm sorry. It's like an exercise for your mind. We focus so much on our bodies, in exercising us physically, but we really need to focus on the internal too. I mean, we can't forget about that. I mean, we all know how it is. The world is crazy and we're all overwhelmed and we're fucking losing it half the time. And so we need some kind of exercise and some kind of active procedure in kind of deciphering all of this madness that's tornadoing through our minds, and I kind of describe it as writing is like solving a math equation backwards. It's like we start with the solution or we start with the issue, and as we write it out, we're uncovering all the steps and all the thought processes that got us to that point. And it's almost like following a map of your instincts. It's weird in that. And so I decided that I was going to write these short little passages, a short, I guess that's a perspective thing. Whatever you think is short may not be short. This is 1, 2, 3, 4.5 pages of writing. But once you get writing, and you start uncovering things, it kind of goes. So I just decided I was going to start reading these at the beginning of the podcast, and as a way to get out some of my thoughts. Maybe it's helpful to somebody. Maybe it's annoying to others, but I don't care. So I guess what we can call this, I don't know if I don't have it. What can we call this? It's in a sense, it's like a projection of introspection. That's what we'll call this. That's a good fucking name. Jesus. That's what you get for drinking. What is this? 48 ounces of coffee already. My brain is fucking popping right now. So yeah, this is my projection of introspection. Here we go. I had this reflective thought about why people feel stuck in these depressive states, the states they describe devoid of motivation, inspiration, happiness, and connection. And it starts with this idea that most motivational speakers, I believe, initially uncover. Hold on, I can't read my fucking chicken scratch. as some spark revelation in which drives them to become what they are out of desire to spread this new discovery with others before sinking into this comfortable, contradictive lifestyle brought about by money and notoriety. They say money doesn't bring you happiness. I say that's the wrong approach. We live in a society where we are forced to subscribe and follow the narrative, or we are left behind. So being forced to play the game out of survival, we look for the only antidote to suffering, the only antidote offered by society to change our lives, grant us freedom, and reduce the suffering is money. The saying that money doesn't buy you happiness is a saying more suited for fairy tales in third world countries. In this country, we survive by collecting chips. Enlightenment and positivity don't even get you to the table. Homeless people are a good example of this. They don't subscribe to this narrative. In fact, homeless people are probably the most enlightened free people. For example, have you ever seen a homeless person get arrested for riding a bike and chugging a 40-ounce Busch Light while he's riding down the street? Nope. Me either. Society has written them off. Government has written them off. There's no money in putting someone in jail who has no money themselves. Yet a person even slightly put together or participating in this narrative would be arrested for an open container or drunk in public for cracking a beer and taking a stroll down the block. Now, I've sort of gotten off topic, but we as humans get stuck in these depressive states because possessing a higher cerebral capability that extend past our understanding, paired with an overstimulating, overworked society, has left the majority of us too exhausted to understand ourselves, our minds, our bodies, and our thought patterns. We recognize the times in life in which sadness or depressing feelings are applicable. A death of a family member, breakup, cancer diagnosis. But you know those times when everything should be okay? At least for the moment. Maybe for the day. Like a family get-together, going to a concert with some good friends, or after a good workout. And for some reason, we're still upset, sad, anxious, or just neutral. These positivity gurus preach about the strength of positive affirmation. I have done all this shit. Mindfulness meditation, positive thinking, visualization, and it helps for the moment until your fucking until your girlfriend or your boyfriend breaks up with you and you're down again. Or until your fucking car breaks down and then you're down again. These things are tools that must be done repeatedly. They must be practiced always and forever. But the missing piece is the foundation, your base. This is what we're neglecting. We think we can just pour a fat slab of positivity over a lake filled with dog shit and used condoms and not expect the stench to creep up to the surface. No, that lake of negativity and bad habits needs to be drained. If the metaphor is not resonating with you yet, it's something like this. Over many years, situations, encounters, choices, interactions, our minds create these feedback loops. These evaluations are collected and then unconsciously compartmentalized in a way to formulate a base in which our minds can operate from, a hard drive per se. This special skill is just a survival mechanism developed over long periods of evolution out of a necessity to sustain our species. If we watch our mother get ripped apart by a saber-toothed tiger and then forget the whole experience and then go to sleep that night and forget the whole experience ever happened, then we're probably going to be the next asshole eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. This unconscious process our minds has developed to collect information and store it away as a reference point to dictate our present and future was beneficial at a certain time in our species' existence. When the tribe was smaller, when the roles were defined, when the threat of death was as real and frequent as the amount of times we check our social media feeds on a daily basis. This survival mechanism is now operating at a very different time in our species' existence. Our minds don't know what the fuck is going on. We are living so unnaturally and advancing so quickly. The belief is we don't need these humanistic capabilities in the future. So back to the point. Why is it that in a moment when everything should be okay, more than okay, it's not? Why are we still suffering? Because we have those higher cerebral capabilities or survival mechanisms, because we are feeding those higher cerebral capabilities or survival mechanisms more negative stimulus, more negative thoughts, and toxic, unhealthy habits than positive. So our brains have recognized that pattern, compartmentalized those experiences, and wired a hard drive to function in a manner that satisfies all it knows to be true to survive. Much of how our bodies can't differentiate between consuming a bag of Skittles or drinking a glass of orange juice, our minds don't discriminate or differentiate between stimulus it's fed. It's just operating how it's been coded to. And we are living in a world filled with negative, unnatural shit that we are forced to participate in because it becomes very difficult to recognize we are wiring our mind in a way that will cause more suffering because we are too exhausted to pay any more attention or do any more work after the dreadful, lifeless tasks of the day are done. And it's not just our job, it's the laws enforced. It's the corrupt capitalist ideals displayed. It's the McDonald's in every corner. It's the prescription propaganda in between our favorite shows. It's the marriage we're stuck in. It's the constant representation of beauty. All of these things being skull-fucked into our brains every day are manipulating our minds into thinking we are not sufficient enough. There is truth to positive affirmation, positive thinking. It works. But not unless you drain that shit swamp first. Not unless you rewire your mind. And that task itself is no afternoon chore list. It's a matter of life and death. The end. So that's my first introspection projection. And now for what you're waiting for, enough to hear me rambling on about my insane mind, here is the episode. One. Phillip Wolf, what's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing, man? It's good to finally meet you, man.
I just now started sweating. A bead of sweat went down my back.
Yeah, San Antonio, summertime. Not quite September yet. That's pretty natural.
God, I'm waiting for that fall, dude. Fuck, I love this summer because of beers and beers, no shirts, and fucking swimming. But
you're a San Antonio boy for sure. I mean, I can't wait for the cold, man. I like layers. I'm ready.
Layers.
Look, I mean, you see me wearing a long sleeve shirt in
yeah,
summer.
I don't know how you're doing it, man.
I don't know either, man. It's
I put on
my steez.
I cut the sleeves off this shirt just so I wouldn't fucking sweat as much.
I like real ale, by the way. Axis
yeah,
IPA
man.
is one of my favorites.
There you go, man. All right, so before we start talking about silly shit, let's get into a little bit of music, man. So you got quite an interesting thing going on. You've developed a pretty good following, you know, a big following here between San Antonio and Austin. And I would say more of now. The music industry has definitely changed, but I would say traditionally we wouldn't see maybe someone like you, or maybe like just based on societal standards or just industry standards, someone like you getting into the rap business or making music, you know, in the way that you do. Do you ever feel like you run into some kind of, you know, judgments or predetermined?
Oh, absolutely, but I think as time goes on, it's been less and less.
Right.
I feel I've been doing this a lot longer than people think, probably like hip-hop per se, like 7 or 8 years now. And I think like earlier, it was like a lot harder to get acceptance from everybody. I would definitely be in rooms that were pretty intimidating.
Right, yeah.
But I think nowadays, man, it's just more and more accepted, and I think I stay in my lane and try to stay true to myself. So I'm not being anybody I'm not, you know what I mean? So I think that helps. If people sense that you're being genuine, it's a lot easier to accept than me getting on stage and trying to spit some trap songs.
Yeah, like you're fucking...
And trying to pass that off, man.
Slanging kilos and fucking popping motherfuckers, right?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, all of my content fits exactly what I look like. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that helps. So, definitely, man. Definitely ran into that problems every now and then, but it's becoming a well accepted genre for sure.
Right, and we talked, you know, a little bit before the podcast a lot about you know, social media and stuff like that, and I think social media is kind of over the full spectrum. It's kind of enhanced a lot of different industries, you know, being the transparency and the reach that you can really get out whatever discipline or whatever you're producing. It's made it very, very helpful in people kind of getting a larger reach and getting their content out or whatever they're producing out.
It's crucial, man.
And I think it's also for all of the negative things that that are very apparent in what it does. I think that in a lot of ways, it's kind of it's definitely brought the community together. And by community, I mean, like, you know, all of us, you know, we're all the same species. We're all on this shit together, this fucking crazy ride together, right? And
right, absolutely.
being in an industry that you're in, I think that a lot of the understanding and the shift changes, the cultural changes have come, you know, at the hand of social media. People can see exactly who you are. They can see the face behind your music. And I think that acceptance has kind of grown out of social media, right?
I mean, they feel a part of it. And
right.
I think that's what's so important is they feel like they're growing with you. And I think that's what the beauty of social media is. Not to mention, I mean, you have the freedom as an artist to put yourself out there how you want to be put out there, you know, how a label or somebody else could put you out how they want you to be,
right.
You know? So it's a beautiful thing. I mean, there's a lot of downfalls too. And I mean, I think people don't realize how old me and you are, but I mean, I think we have like kind of that jaded mindset growing up from our generation, but we had to give in due to what we're pursuing, you know what I mean? And I definitely gave in because, I mean, social media is beautiful. You make so many connections. You're able to be yourself.
Is there a better
and let
marketing
your
tool?
fans grow with you. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
I mean,
it's
like
the independent artist's dream. Yeah,
exactly.
That the social media is such a prominent thing to.
And it's like, and I had said this, you know, like I said before we started this, you know, I told you, like, I held out as long as I could, you know. I made it till 27 before I finally was like, oh, fuck. Like, I reached a point where I wanted to do something, you know, this podcast. And it's like, well, you're not going to reach anybody, you know. What are you going to do, hand out flyers, you know, some shit? You know, you have to have a presence on these platforms for people to find you. That's the way that people are consuming things these days, you know. And this old media, it's all being phased out, and the new way of communicating, the new way of marketing is through these platforms. And it's kind of like if you're not going to jump on the wagon, then you're going to be left behind. And
absolutely,
in a lot of ways,
absolutely,
it's you know, like I said, I held out as long as I could, but fuck, man, you got to do it. You got to be on it. This is the way society is moving, you know, and this is the way that.
And you have to adapt, man. We can't be the old grumpy guys.
We're not cavemen anymore, man.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then some of my peers my age will ridicule me for how much I'm on social media, and I mean, I just brush it right off because I was like that for so long that it's undeniably necessary. Like it's just the truth. And I mean, to not adapt with the times is just ridiculous. I mean, there's definitely a balance that you need to have. You still need to be like a human being and get away from that and just take a breather. Like you said, we were talking before the podcast, you just need to go camping sometimes, just turn your phone off, get away. Cool, that's healthy, but you can't deny that social media is part of this now. It's part of life. That's how. Well, I was talking to my one of the guys, a part of my team, Frank. Business cards. When you exchange business cards with people, they're so plain nowadays. It's literally just like a name. It's all white, and it's like website or what. And the reason being is because essentially Instagram and Twitter, that's your business card now.
Right.
It's more. It's more likely to walk up to somebody and exchange Instagrams now than it is to hand off a business card. And you can go on that Instagram and see so much more and get the same info from a business card. You know what I mean?
That business card that you're handing that person is really just to direct them to your real shit.
Right.
The real shit that they can fucking gauge, you know, what you present, what you can present to them. You know, that a bit. It's like, dude, I thought about making business cards for this fucking podcast, and then just fucking everywhere I go, whether it be a restaurant or fucking HEB, just hand them out to anybody I had interactions with. And I was like, honestly, my business card is this fucking phone right here. I pull this shit out, and I'm like,
look at my background.
Let's exchange Oh shit.
My background is a QR code that leads directly to my album.
You're
man.
way ahead of the game. How the fuck do I do that? I need to get on that program.
I made a QR code that leads directly to it leads to like a splash page that has all the platforms that my album is on.
Right.
So once you scan it, I was walking up. Damn, was that yesterday? That was 2 days ago. I was in Austin and I was walking up 6th Street, just, hey, scan my phone. You know what I mean? And I mean, it doesn't.
Damn, I need to put this in my notepad. I'm about to have to make one of these fucking things.
It doesn't work sometimes, but it works a lot of the time because it's a lot easier to scan it than throw my business card away.
Or think about you're out, like, out at night, on 6th Street, and you're just partying, having a good time, having some drinks. You're running into so many fucking people, and nobody gives a fuck. If you're like, hey, man, scan this, they're like, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. They're just throwing.
You're just throwing it out in the universe, and people are going to fucking eat it up. That's how it goes, man.
And the motto of my team is, like, me and my team always say, like, hey, if we didn't get one, fuck it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're moving on. Fuck it.
Trying, man. Put
Yeah.
yourself out there. That's the only way that you're going to get somewhere. You don't get somewhere, fucking at home shoveling Cheetos in your face all day. That doesn't work.
Exactly.
I fucking tried that. It doesn't work, man. I've been there. It doesn't fucking work.
I've definitely tried that tactic
man.
a couple times.
Let's get a little background information. Music, man. Is music always been in your life? What was your initial exposure to music? Is it part of your family?
100%, man. So I'm half Filipino, half white, and in the Philippines, like, karaoke is like the biggest thing ever. So my mom was a huge part of just singing contests all over. I mean, that's like the culture of the Philippines. It's weird, man.
So what, like karaoke over
everywhere you go?
Like stars over there?
Yeah. What do you say that again?
People like that karaoke is like taken seriously over there. Like there can be stars, like karaoke stars and shit.
Just came back from the Philippines, man. It's so weird because there's like radio stations that will play American hits, right? But then every now and then they'll pepper in Filipino artists that are doing covers
of it, yeah.
And it blows my mind because I'm like, okay, first off, how do you get the licensing copyright for this? Is that artist getting paid? Like, there's like an Ed Sheeran song that's so big over there, and there's like a Filipino dude that's like big off of covering the Ed Sheeran songs.
Right.
And it's like America's Got Talent type shows are so prominent, or are so big over there, and we were walking around the Philippines and there was like 3 karaoke contests in the span of our walk. Like,
damn.
It's so huge over there. They have these things called Magic Sings that have like, so anyways, back to your question. So my mom was a big part of all those different contests and stuff like that. My older sister started at a young age, so I was exposed to it at like age 6 or 7. I don't think I ever took it serious back then. My parents threw me on a stage.
It was just a part of your
wanted
life.
to see their cute little kid up there. I was always affiliated with music, but to me it always felt like another kid doing Boy Scouts or another kid going to camp or something like that. To me, it was like an activity, a building thing. I don't think I ever took it serious till like age 14 or 15. But music, yes, has indeed always been a part of my life, 100%. Back then, I was just doing covers around Market Square, downtown. Did a lot of Motown covers and listened to a lot of oldies and stuff like that. So
you have like a singing background as well, too. I mean,
singing
that's
background,
man.
That's
definitely a part of your music as well.
I don't think I took serious. I don't think I took it too serious back then as I do now. I wish I did. But
so you think that definitely has played a role in your connection with music and your direction you've taken
in life? It's helped so much, man. Yeah, absolutely. I was telling you before the podcast, I came from the northeast side of San Antonio, which is like Roosevelt High School. It's a very urban high school. So when I was in high school, I was like just rapping. I didn't sing at all because I felt like I'd be hated on for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I felt like the experience I had singing as a kid is helping me now because I was able to incorporate singing into the rapping, no problem, man. I've been having a great time with it.
I feel shift of like it's like a dynamic shift. Like, it's a good a perfect example is like someone like, I'm a fucking Houston rap nerd.
Okay. Wow.
So if you're looking at someone like, I know it doesn't make sense, but
no, that's awesome.
Like someone like Fat Pat or like Ro, like Zero.
Oh, okay.
They incorporate like this. They incorporate or they have this ability to change, like to
They got that soulful singing that kind of adds.
Yes, but they can dictate your emotion to the song by changing the dynamic. So Ro covers the spectrum. This guy can rap insanely fast, you know, with somewhat intellectual lyrics, but then he can switch that up into this fucking beautiful voice of an angel. Yeah, there you go, you know? So it's like that, and like Fat Pat was a big thing like that. And like
Trey the Truth.
so it's like you know, like even back then, like Gorilla Mob days and shit, you know, it's like with Dougie D and Trey and fucking Zero, it's like this fucking...
I'm mad impressed that you know your hip-hop like this, man.
Dude, I'm a Houston rap fucking nerd.
That's
like,
wild.
Since like I was exposed to it, I think when I was like 16 or 17, and at that time, the only thing that really resonated with me was like this weird like shit like Elliott Smith or like Jack Johnson or some bullshit like that, you know? Like shit that's...
So you were like bouncing back and forth from Jack Johnson to Zero?
Well, when I was exposed to like something else that wasn't normal to me, it's like the fucking like mindset shift, like the exposure to it just like opened me up to like, dude, like I'm so different from these people, like music that I'm listening to, but I appreciate it. And for some reason, like not really what the lyrics say, but the music resonates with me, and like in this weird way to where I was like like
and we're close to Houston too.
Yeah.
So there is kind of that influence here, right? There's always there's kind of that influence here. I feel like, I mean, whether they've tried to, some of the artists here tried to take that style earlier, like back in middle school and high school. I remember, people that were pursuing rap were actively like trying to recreate Houston style and stuff like that. So I mean, it makes sense that hip hop influences San Antonio.
Yeah,
culture.
man. But even just on an individual level, it's like it's beautiful. Like it's beautiful to recognize the fact that you can be emotionally attached to something, whether it be music or fucking frisbee golf, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is. You can be emotionally attached to something that somebody else produces, and you could be so different from them. You know, you can not live I don't live any kind of life that fucking Zero lives.
Yeah.
Like no kind of life do I live like that. I mean, like in any shape of I'm not rapping, I'm not being chased by fucking cops. This dude's probably got a way bigger dick than I do. It's like there's no fucking goddamn there's no resemblance in our human form, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I don't have fucking goddamn 3 baby mamas coming after me for my fucking...
I think that's what the beauty of music is, though, is people use it for different reasons. Some people absolutely need to relate to everything that's going on in the song.
Yeah. Well, it's a comfort
I've met people that is like, if I can't relate to it, I don't know how to listen to it.
Right.
That's fine. But, I mean, I feel like you and I are the type of people that's like, I'm willing to learn about somebody else's, what they're going through or the way of life or whatever. I want to learn about it through their music. Like that's beautiful to me, too.
And don't you think that probably comes from, like, people's willingness to cling on to their comfort level, or, you know, just to cling on to something that they know?
100%,
like
yeah.
It's got to come from that, man. And I think that music is one of the few things, it's this, like, universal, for lack of a better term, like lubricant or language. It's a universal language. I mean, we just talked about over in the Philippines how music over there is it's a part of their culture, is a way to bring them together. It's like a cultural thing that they do. Oh, and I'm sure that's embedded in culture and in family. It's just something that resonates with them on a deeper level. There's some emotional attachment to it. And music is one of the few fucking things like that can break down like barriers and kind of and bring people who in most cases they're in no way connected to each other. They don't resonate on any level other than that music, but it's beautiful whenever a wide variety of people can come together at a show and all collectively be tuned in this energy that is all produced by music, like sound. It's fucking strange, man. Like sound is strange. Like you can create a sound that will resonate with any person across the spectrum, across the board. Like if you have that creative approach, or if you tap into something, you can literally reach people on a deeper level, and it does not depend on where they come from, what language they speak, who they are, what they've been through. It's fucking beautiful, man. It's crazy, wild. Right? And it has to be something that you experience, like, on stage. I mean, I've seen the fucking shows, I've seen what you do, and it's got to be an amazing feeling, like, especially like losing yourself in that moment on stage, and there's all these people that are tapped into what you are producing and what you're giving them, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's so much return in music for me as an artist, and that's definitely one of them. Is bringing people together. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I always try to make my shows or events mixer type events. Yeah. I'm always trying to make connections for everyone, because I feel like I've been blessed with so many connections that I want to harvest those for everybody else. Because I mean, I feel like that's the only way to give back in this.
It's kind of like it's kind of like I think like how I kind of interpret it is like. It's like a community, man, like, and it's like, it's an opportunity, it's like an open opportunity for people to be exposed to not just what you're doing, but just to who's there. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like a community thing, like a communal thing, you know? Like, it's just about making those connections, and it's about just fucking bringing people together. Like, this life is already savage enough, man. It's like, so why aren't we coming here and you know, getting together and fucking, you know, living life, you know, like that's how it should be, you know,
right.
And you're giving, music is one, like you said, you've gotten so much from it, and you're giving it back to other people. That
100%. And I think, you know, of the recent years, really getting in touch with my culture too has helped me understand what I'm really doing this for. You know what I mean?
I think we're gonna have to hit up some karaoke sometime, bro.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, man. I've definitely lived the. I'm a bartender, so I've lived the bartender lifestyle, and karaoke is a part of that culture too. So.
Yeah, man. That's a lifestyle in itself, right? I mean, just the opportunities that you have and the interactions that you have on a daily basis, huh? Like.
Oh yeah.
You're running into all kinds of people, you know. And I wouldn't say, dude.
You got to find the silver lining in any situation.
Yeah.
Man. I mean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's crazy how fast everything is moving this last year, because I'm starting to really like. It's like I'm having a new epiphany every week, because it's. Before I was going out to drink and socialize with my friends, and now when I go out, I realize talking to that one stranger is so pivotal, or you just don't know who you're gonna meet, man. And I become way more social over this last year and a half. My team has definitely made me comfortable. Shout out to Patrick and Frank. But whenever we go out, man, we're leaning to our left and right and making sure that we talk to people that we don't know, because you just don't know who you're gonna meet, man. That's right. In any situation.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you brought that up, because you know, a lot of times, you know, and I see it in myself even still today, you know. I can talk myself up in whatever way I want, you know, but my mental health and my mindset plays a huge role in my projection on my community and the way that I present myself. And a lot of times, you know, approaching situations emotionally is kind of been a huge hindrance for me, you know, and I've let it kind of dictate, you know, my place in life, or, you know, how I perceive every situation. And like kind of touching on what you said is you've kind of realized that every situation or every encounter doesn't have to matter, but it can matter. Like, every situation or every encounter can fucking matter. You can pull some kind of knowledge or some kind of opportunity out of many things that you encounter, or many people that you encounter, you know, on just any simple interaction, whether it be at HEB, or whether it be at a bar, or whether it be some other, whatever, a concert, whatever it is, man. And there is something. It benefits you to be aware and present in every moment.
Oh, you have to, man.
You know what I mean? This is the only life we have, so being present and seeing an opportunity, like having that sight to see an opportunity in most cases is a huge tool to have. Mm-hmm. It's a good mindset to have, I would say. Oh, shit.
I agree with that 100%.
And so, but, and, you know, another thing I wanted to get at is, it seems like you've kind of surrounded yourself with a lot of people that are somewhat like-minded or at least as motivated as you are. It seems like you got a team around you that they're not just people that are helping you create and produce this final product, but they seem like they're all y'all are all friends. Like everyone has a role to play, and everyone's kind of communally coming together and collectively helping to create this product.
I think they've always all believed in me. These are all people that I've had longevity with as far as relationships. I think they've always believed in me, but I think like once they see how serious you're taking things and how the process is and, how people are reacting to it, I mean, they were all ready to buy in. So I think, it's important to have that team around you.
Yeah.
I think it'd be... I don't know how to put this. I think it'd be silly to think that you had a chance doing it solely on your own. Like right. I know there's the beauty in being an individual. There's beauty in doing things independently, but you need a team, man. I mean, there's going to be a time where there's too much to do, and yeah, man. So I'm grateful that I have friends that are willing to buy in like they are.
And so these are people that these are like buddies, like these are people that you've been in your life for a long time.
Currently my management team consists of Francisco Alarcon, somebody I met through bartending. And then my other one is a childhood friend of mine that I met in 5th grade. His name's Patrick Tupas, otherwise known as the Captain Speaking. These two guys have been amazing. And this guy ran a startup when he was in the military, lived in England, got to travel, do all this stuff, and then he ran a startup for like 2 years in China. So he has all this business and marketing experience. So he's on the management team. And then on the other hand, Francisco is one of the most social guys I've ever known, can pick apart somebody by just learning about them. And it's so beautiful that these guys are willing to work with me, because it just creates this like really relaxed feel. I feel like everybody just feels comfortable around us, and that's so important, especially in the hip-hop industry where everybody makes you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So I think we just have a leg up based off of that alone, man, because like we're just such a well-oiled machine. Now, I consider that round the small circle of the immediate team. Right. And then outside of that, I got my merch guy, Caleb Miller. He's always like in on the marketing. He's on meetings. I have Eddie Juarez, who's my design. He runs all my graphic design. I have No Offense, who's my producer and engineer. My main engineer, Chris Locke. It's a well-oiled machine that people don't even realize. We're on such a small scale in San Antonio, but like this team is like constantly sticking their necks out for Phillip Wolf. I got Canteezy, who's out there on the street team. He runs the head of my street team. People don't realize, I don't know how many other locals have a team like that. And for me, it's been such an amazing, because now it's like, I got to do it for these guys too, like all these guys believe so much that.
And you can see that. I mean, you can see in, I mean, you say small scale, but you're doing a lot of big things, and you can tell, like in the.
I appreciate that. In the production, it doesn't feel like that as an artist, but I appreciate that, man.
In the production value, like in the production of, let's say, like the videos or like the antisocial video or whatever, in these videos, you can tell that it's not a singular approach. Like it's exactly what you say. It's a well-oiled machine, and there's many different ideas and mindsets coming in and collectively kind of coming together and producing this. And that's gotta be helpful to have like that to fall back on. I mean,
it's amazing, man. I'm so grateful for these group of guys, because as an artist, you get down on yourself a lot, but it's hard to get down on yourself when you have so many guys committed to your grind.
Just living life, it's easy to get down on yourself.
Absolutely,
not
100%.
just even in any pursuit that you not.
There's the downfall of social media, by the way, because I feel like that can get you down on yourself. I mean, it's so misleading to not get X amount of likes or X amount of listens, plays. But
or just to base your value off somebody else who's presenting themselves in one moment of time where they're presenting their best self at that moment.
Absolutely.
And you're kind of evaluating yourself and creating this opinion about yourself just based on this picture you saw that's one moment of time of somebody else's life, or a collection of moments. Life is many moments, and it's very dangerous to go down this path where, I mean, you stated it, so you understand that pitfall. I understand it. I see it. We talked about this for the podcast. It's dangerous, man. And if we're already it's already hard enough in this world to fucking survive and fucking present ourselves in the best way and just fucking get through a system in which we are kind of forced to subscribe to. We didn't make this system. We were kind of just we're shoved out of our mother's vaginas and then thrown into brain surgery. Yeah. That's what I say. Yeah. Like, from the moment we're birthed into this world, we're thrown into a brain surgery in which everybody around us, including our parents, the government, society, our community, our friends, all tell us how we should live life. And we create this base and this foundation that up until a point where we're intellectually or spiritually or emotionally astute enough to recognize this, we don't formulate our own opinion based on anything until a certain point where we're actually capable of thinking any deeper. So it's hard to change your mindset after your mind is already kind of wired in a way to think the way that you're thinking. Right. It's strange, man. And you want to get another beer?
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a pause for a second. Y'all are not going to know this because I'm going to edit it, so we're going to get a beer. Okay, let's keep going. Now we're back. I think so. We're not going to edit that out because we're humans and we fuck up. This is what happens. But yeah, basically, we started talking as we were going in there to grab a beer. I really wanted to kind of touch on this idea of writing. It's kind of understated. It's kind of it's not really touched on too much, and I think that it's a very important resource to use in not just if you're creating music or if you write as a profession, but just as a human being. There's something about putting your thoughts down on paper is like you're putting it into the universe, and there's a way that I kind of described it as like when you're writing out your thoughts or an issue that you have or expressing your feelings on paper, like in a physical form, it's almost like you're solving a math equation backwards. Like you start with the thought or the solution, and you kind of decipher that and unfold it as you're writing. And you run into these situations where you literally open up different avenues and different thought processes as you're writing it out. It's like an exercise for your mind, and I wanted to ask you about if you have like a writing process, what I mean, if writing is something that you use not just
it's always so different.
Yeah?
It's always so different for me. Sometimes I get on my management team because they'll want me to write a song, and I'm like, creatively, I can't just do it. Like, the reason I got into this world is to get away from the 9-to-5, right? So It's like, creatively, it's like, it can come from something dark. It just comes to me sometimes, man. There's sometimes where I'll literally write a verse or I'll write a chorus with no beat, or I'll get inspired by a beat. It really just depends. That's always been one of the toughest questions for me to ask because it's always been an unorthodox process for me.
So it has to be like a spark of inspiration for you to write out something.
Yeah, man. I think some of my best songs came out of nowhere. 7101, that's on my album, came right after a crazy situation, and I went straight to my room and started writing. I wrote Connect on acid. And then there's other times I'll hear a beat and I'll kind of piece it together like I'm writing a story, like I'm writing Habits. That was a song I wrote where I heard the beat, loved it, and started trying to formulate a little story, like an author would. Okay. Try to think back to situations that I could relate to and make a story. So it's always completely different, man. Like there's never been a process to me. I know marijuana is always involved. Doesn't matter.
There you go. There you go.
It doesn't matter the situation. Marijuana is always a part of the process.
Yeah, there's a very self-exploratory and exposing property to the the THC chemical compound. There's a very very exposing property to that. It's a lot of people, and I explored this idea last night. I think what people consider to be paranoia, like how some people, I know you come into come into contact with people that say, I don't smoke because it makes me paranoid, and I think what people express or try to get to when they say that, they smoke weed and get paranoid is they're not thinking about it right. I think that
they're afraid of the vulnerability that it puts them in.
Right. That specific chemical compound, the way it binds with your fucking neurological functions, what it's doing is it's opening up your mind and exposing you to things that you should be addressing or things that you should be thinking about. And life, like we said, is brutal enough, and most of the time we're just trying to survive, and we're trying to avoid more issues to tackle and more problems to be exposed to. And what it's doing is, and why we're paranoid, or why people explain their feelings as paranoia, is their unwillingness to tackle issues that they know that they're running from, and
right.
That's a big issue, and I think that restructuring your thought process, you can use it as a tool. You can use it as a way to restructure your thought process. Mm-hmm. It can be used as a tool, much like exercise can be used as a tool to restructure your thought process.
Right.
If you understand what it's doing to your mind, if you understand the process, if you understand the feeling, then you're not walking into it anymore empty-handed. You know that it can be used as a tool. You know that it can be used to fucking work your way through an issue, work your way through a problem. And I think a lot of people kind of break it and kind of write it off as like, a lot of people drink or do other drugs or whatever the fuck it is. And I'm not saying marijuana is a drug. It's a fucking plant, so fuck off. But I'm saying that most of the things that we consume, whether it be food, shoveling fucking donuts in our face or whatever the fuck it is, our vices are used for us to forget of our problems, And
oh, absolutely. And that's what I hate about people that just look down on marijuana, because there are other forms of addiction. And yeah. You're absolutely right, man. You'll tell me that you don't smoke weed, but you'll sit and eat a 3-course meal at a fast food joint. That's not bad for you. You'll
feed your fucking children fucking poison. You'll give them fucking McDonald's 3 or 4 days a week because you don't want to cook anything.
Or you drink a large coffee every morning, which I do as well.
I'm addicted to
so
coffee.
So much coffee. You drink, or you'll have a lot of sex.
Or you'll jerk off uncontrollably. And that's all the same shit. Yeah. It is all the same shit. Right. There's a healthy way for everything to sort of be consumed, and and most of the time it's generalizations, and that's a big issue that we kind of run into. But I guess, while we go off on these crazy tangents, me and you are kind of similar in the fact that we fucking I think our minds have vast capabilities of many different thoughts, and that's probably why you're successful in doing what you're doing, man. But
I question everything,
and that's a good that's a good way to approach life, man. It's like these structures that have been put into place. Why are we all subscribing to something that a bunch of fat, disgusting white men sat around a table and decided, like, oh, this is the way that should dictate everybody else in the society? It's like, I've said this too, like about 200 years ago, whenever the Constitution was created, and there was we put so much emphasis in the Constitution, or like these things that we call laws, right? because they're supposed to,
I don't credit our forefathers with being intelligent as I do as they just got there first.
That and the fact that
That's how I feel.
They recognize the fact that if you don't have some sort of outline for how the tribe is supposed to be ran, then people, the way we're wired is people will freak out. So we need some kind of structure in our life in some sort of the way. That's the reason why, we look to mommy and daddy when we're children for advice. Even as adults, we can't possibly know everything. So in some way, we have to rely on some structures that dictate which direction we should go.
Yeah,
and you should always question everything, right?
Oh,
but I think that these laws and these rules and these constitutions and all this shit are being given way too much credit in the fact that the tribe is not what it was 200, 300 years ago. We're way bigger. Too many people to have these laws that are dictating everybody's lives the same. These laws do not accommodate for an individual situation. It doesn't accommodate to an individual in any way. So a lot of people fall through the cracks because of law, but that's not a personable approach. It's not the way that we should be living. It's for an adult to tell another adult what he can or what you can and cannot put in your body, or what you can and cannot do in the privacy of your own home if you're not hurting somebody, is outrageous. If you want to smoke meth and go jerk off for 16 hours, why the fuck would you be? Why should someone else be telling you that you can't do that? As long as you don't do it in public, but if you're in your house and you're locked up, you know what I mean?
I can agree with that to an extent. I mean, meth is a little excessive.
Yes, but I've never used meth. I don't smoke meth. I never use. I'm saying.
I mean, if it's a clinically proven thing that's gonna harm you.
If you want to, if you're producing, if you're being a productive person, a part of society, but then on the weekends, just on the weekends or whatever, you want to lock the doors and you want to get weird, then you should be able to. It's your fucking house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why is there people, why should you be arrested? Why should you have your doors kicked in because you want to fucking smoke weed in your house? Why should you have your doors kicked in because you and your fucking wife want to tie each other up and fucking stick weird shit in each other, or whatever the fuck it is? You know what I mean? Like, there's things that there's reasons, there's ways that we should be living, and it should not be the way where we have these made up, constructed, fabricated ideals dictating how everyone should live. You know what I mean?
I got that.
And there's a huge fucking issue with that, especially in the cannabis world. And people are gonna fucking be angry because I get on these fucking rants about like cannabis and all this shit, and it's fucking strange to me that, something, and in the last podcast that I did, it's something that I said, it seems strange to me that we have assholes that can tell us that people are criminals for putting a chemical in our body that is a chemical that's already naturally occurring and apparent in our own system. That's money at this point,
though. I mean, it's money at this point.
I know. I get off on rants. I get angry.
At this point, it's been 10 years since we found out that marijuana is nothing. It's not harmful.
Yeah.
At this point, it's controlling money. It's how they can make a buck off of it. That's how I feel.
It's money dictating everything.
I mean, dude, we have places in this country where it's legal. Like, at this point, they know it's not harming.
Good thing Hillary wasn't elected. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
So, where do you see this music? Where do you see yourself taking this music, man? I mean, like I said, you have a very creative approach, and you can tell your passion and the energy that you put out in these shows and what you produce. I mean, where do you see this going? Like, what is your foresight for the future?
National, then international, man. I think I can take my message to the next level and become something that people that can relate, look up to, and aspiring musicians can respect. I think I'm so confident in this last project that I dropped, Undervalued Attention, the album. I'm so confident in it. I've gotten enough feedback to where I feel confirmed in the confidence. So I really just want to take it to the next level and change my life to change other lives. That's the goal. I feel like I do have a unique message. I really became rejuvenated after going to the Philippines and realizing, like, hey, I can send a message to my culture, but not only that, I can bring a message here for people that are half another culture and half American. Because I feel like as an Americanized child, I really struggled to understand my foreign parent,
Right.
my Filipino mom. I would go to school, which was an urban school, made it even more confusing. So I would have the urban culture introduced to me. I would see like my white friends and like the culture that was like the traditional American white picket fence lifestyle. And then I would go home and like completely have to
The other side of the coin.
readjust
Yeah.
to a Filipino mom and a Filipino lifestyle. And it was very confusing until I went to the Philippines. And I just feel like there's got to be 1 million plus kids in America that are going through the same thing. First song on my album is about it. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's probably not only Asian Americans but other cultures that are just like, you know, it's confusing, you know.
Yeah.
It's confusing, and I feel like as an adult looking back, you know, now I can really understand my upbringing, and that's the kind of thing that I want to take this music to the next level, man. Is really like try to harvest that epiphany that I had, I guess.
So you think that's you think that exposure to how different it is, you know, sort of the differentiation between people around the world, and we're living differently, right? So you think that unique, like, perspective on other communities, you know, that are different from here, you know, maybe less fortunate or whatever, is something that you can use and you can harness for some sort of next level of what you want to produce.
Absolutely, man, because I'm just going to say it, man. I hated it growing up. Like, it was something that I really struggled with, and I had a lot of just hard times.
Was it like
adjusting?
was it just like a confusion between like
The cultures, man.
Right.
But now, like, as a 26-year-old male, I think it's fucking beautiful, dude. Like, I look back and I feel like I was ridiculous about some things, but I feel like it's just because I simply didn't understand. And I think it's beautiful being brought up by two cultures, man, because you can really understand. I mean, dude, I went to the Philippines. Half my cousins don't even have a bed. They're sleeping on mats. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's way easier to understand where
and
your
look at us
parent
talking
is
into
coming
microphones
from.
and
Like,
drinking beers.
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's way easier to understand my mother now and combine it with the upbringing that my father provided. You know, my white father from Wisconsin, farmer.
Damn, I got
farmer
family from
boy,
Wisconsin.
Catholic farmer boy.
No
yeah.
shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Is he a fucking Packers
the
fan?
combination of those two cultures, mind you, both of my parents born in 1960, being brought up here in 2018, that added to the equation. And now I love them to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's different. You just have to come to some conclusions that can help you. And now I feel like I got this message that I can help, you know, other kids with that problem with, you know what I mean? And not only that, I mean, I want to eventually become international and just, I love the Philippines, man.
Yeah.
It's
So you
just,
feel like that's an audience that you can tap into?
man,
Is that something that's
I did
is that a
3
goal?
shows. Yeah, absolutely. I did 3 shows up there in
No
the Philippines,
shit. When was this?
and they were packed.
When was this?
This was July
July of this
June?
year?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It just
That's
happened.
Awesome.
And it wasn't just family. There was like Filipinos there that had seen me online, came out, were like,
And who put together these shows? Did you
All
and your
me.
management team just approached some clubs?
it was
or-
actually just me, man,
Just
because
you?
the Philippines trip came so fast. We weren't expecting it.
Okay.
My mom really was adamant about me wanting to go. I think she's getting older, so she just wants, you know, us to be in touch. and was really wanted me to go out there. So I finally gave in and went out there, but I was like, Mom, if I'm gonna go out there, I want it to be beneficial. I feel like there's a lot of momentum with music right now. So I want to make sure that I'm doing something out there that can at least progress my career a little bit. So I just emailed like 30 bars in the Philippines. 10 emailed me back, and I just picked out of the 10 what I thought would be the most valuable places to perform at. Didn't charge, nothing like that. I mean, the exchange rate there is crazy, so getting paid wouldn't have been worth it anyway. But, yeah. So I just did a couple shows out there, promoted the hell out of it. I have a song called Dear Philippines that really gained traction on Facebook. It has over 1 million views, and it's about the Philippines. So I feel like there was a lot of people that came from that. When it came out to check it out, man, and it was wild. It's crazy because that's another thing you don't realize is like everybody out there might be one phone per family. You know what I mean? One cell phone per family. So they're not actively liking your Instagram post every day like everybody else, or they're not actively commenting on every Facebook post every day. Like you can kind of gauge who is a fan here or who's supporting here. It's not always accurate, but you can kind of accurately gauge what you got going on here. But in the Philippines, you don't even realize it. So when I went out there and I saw those shows and people coming out and people knowing the words, you know, it was just mind-blowing.
That must have been beautiful, huh?
It was amazing, man. So it was mind-blowing in the sense of like, man, I could appeal to my culture. Like I got to make sure like I stay in touch with that side, because I feel very Americanized, man. I can't speak Tagalog to you, man. I can't, you know what I mean? But I definitely respect the fuck out of my own culture, and I love it to death, you know? I love that this is what I am, you know? So that's always been something that I've been trying to find a happy medium to present to my American fans, because I don't want to overwhelm anybody with my culture, you know what I mean?
Fuck it,
I
want to
like
face.
No, I want to ease it in so it's more
Shove it in
accepting.
their face.
People tell me that all the time. I don't want to do that. I want to ease it in to where it's like
you're thinking too much about it.
Huh?
I think you're thinking too much about it.
I don't think I am.
What do you think? What do you think? What do you think would be giving them too much of your culture?
I'm sorry, man. When Daddy Yankee comes on, I'm leaving the bar. Like, I don't want to be there. And that's how I feel. So I don't think I'm thinking too much about it. When Pitbull comes on, man, I'm turning the station.
I get you.
100%.
Okay, you made your point.
So I'm not just putting fucking Filipino flutes in my song. I want it to be tasteful to the sense that people can be like, this is fucking dope. Like, I want you to listen to it and be like, I didn't even know I just embraced a Filipino culture right now.
I get you, because the artists that you just spoke of, you know, they kind of tailor to that, like, too overboard.
It almost feels like it's for them, and he's like, fuck you if you don't like it. Like, it's for them.
I get what you're saying.
And I don't want that. I want it to bring the cultures together, and we're like,
you want it to be universal.
And we're like, hey, like, this is fucking dope.
It doesn't have to just be about your roots, but, you know, of course, in everything that you produce, you're going to have your own little personal connections in it, and people are going to pick up on those things, but you don't want to tailor to just one specific thing.
Absolutely.
You know?
Shane, I feel like if you listen to the album, there's 3 or 4 songs in there that really talk about my culture, and I feel like you go through the album and you don't even fucking realize that you absorbed it. Like, and I think that's more beautiful than just shoving a Filipino beat in your face.
Well, because the people that do pick up on it are the people those are the people that are gonna fucking really. Those are your fans.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are that love.
And it's not like I'm not being true to myself, because I'm American. You know what I mean? So me slipping it in my Americanized music taste isn't me like being fake or anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sliding some Filipino culture into what I already love.
You seem to have a really, like, self-analytical and very observational approach to life. Like, you seem to be aware of not only yourself, but you care enough about others around you, and you sort of, whatever you produce, it seems that you keep all of those variabilities in mind. Mm-hmm. You know, it seems that you have this very, very analytical process that you go through, and it might not be as exhausting as I'm making it sound. Like, these are just words, but I mean, for lack of a better term, like, you're very aware.
Frank calls it calculated.
Calculated.
Very calculated.
Right. And so is that true? Do you find yourself analyzing
man.
most of the things that you do?
My dad's a master sergeant and my mom's Asian. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So my whole life it's been a very formulaic. I mean, being Filipino, when you're in the Philippines is one formula, and then an Americanized Filipino is another formula. You're
Right.
going to be a nurse, or you're going to be a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Or when you're in the Philippines, you're going to have a family. You're going to get your first son at 22. You're going to get him baptized, and you're going to get a job. It's very formulaic. And then on the other end, I got my farm-raised dad, who's a master sergeant in the military. I mean, that's formulaic in itself too. So I think I've just a calculated guy that understood how to transition into the
creative approach to
creative
you
world.
have the best of
I still feel like I'm creative as fuck. I mean, it's not like I'm calculated in my writing processes or anything, but I'm calculated in how I present myself or
So do you
how
think
I want people to understand things.
So then you must think that, the way that you were raised or the family that you came from plays a huge part in your motivation and your initiative to fucking produce and to get out there and to keep hustling.
Oh, yeah, man, because I feel like my parents are very supportive, but I think they have like an uneasy undertone in the pursuit, because they're even more calculated than I am. You think I'm calculated. But I mean,
but it's not just the calculated approach. That's what I'm saying. Is like you have that calculated approach, but that doesn't. A lot of times when someone's overly calculated or overly structured or
Right.
organized, that creative approach lacks.
Right.
You have the creative approach. You have the wonder,
Yeah.
like the what if. Like I get made fun of by friends a lot for this because I always like in these weird conversations that we have, whether it be drinking beers or just hanging out, fucking whatever it is, I always have these situations like I always come up with these things like thoughts or like conversations like, what if this happened or what if this still existed? And it's like this what if, and it's this wonder feeling, like this wonder factor, and it's this overwhelming feeling of possibility that kind of pushes you to what you want to do. It's this wanderlust, this feeling that that there's more out there and shit. And it seems to me like you have this dynamic of this you have this structured, motivated, intellectual, formulated approach, but then you still have a part of that fucking wonder, that fucking what if approach, like the possibility approach, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's
yeah, man, I feel like that's it's the beauty. I've always struggled with this, man, because I mean, being calculated has hurt me sometimes. You know what I mean? I'd be silly to not realize that. I mean, sometimes the calculated personality comes out in pivotal situations where I should not have been calculated. But I think it came from having to go to the rough middle school and high school that I went to, and then going home to a Catholic family. So I felt like it was like absorbing both of those worlds made me really like a chameleon, It was kind of awesome. Confusing growing up, but it was awesome because I mean, you would go to Roosevelt, and I thought I had to sag my jeans and listen to Swisher House. You know what I'm saying? I'd do that, and then I'd go home and like have to act like the Brady Bunch to my family. You know what I mean? Like if I wasn't on my best behavior at home, my dad was disciplining me somehow. You know what I mean? It was getting done. So I feel like that's where I feel like I'm a confusing dude in itself, because I mean it's crazy to be this calculated, but then still you real calling out how creative I can still be. I mean, based off of your observation. So yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird. I've been trying to find the healthy balance to even like get that across in my music too, but
do you ever analyze like that about yourself? Like, is that a thought that you've had? Like, is it a thought that, I mean, we're our worst critics, right? So you know yourself better than anybody.
100%.
Is it do you ever kind of analyze yourself and recognize that you do have this creative approach. Yet,
I think I'm so hard on myself, man.
Yeah.
I think I'm so hard on myself. And we talked about mental health. I mean, I can admit that I've definitely had some really depressed times.
Yeah.
So I think the people I surrounded myself helped me realize that aspect. I think I've always thought I was calculated and never really thought I was creative until I surrounded myself with people that were like, dude, you gotta keep doing
They
this.
sort of built you up and brought that out of you?
Oh, absolutely, man. My friends are constantly gassing me up. My team, my friends, you know, they're constantly gassing me up, and I'm very grateful for that, because I don't know if I would entirely believe in myself without them. But now they've enforced that thought in me so much that I feel like I can't lose. You know, I really do feel like I'm that creative. Like, you know, I don't feel like anybody can take that from me at this point. So yeah, for sure.
What would you say if I said that you should have someone open for you, like a stand-up comic open for you?
It would depend on the venue and the theme.
What do you think about that dynamic?
I think it could work in the right setting.
Why do you think the setting would matter?
Because there's different types of shows, and I feel like I'm a diverse enough act to fit that. I think if it was a more contemporary show and more relaxed, that would fit perfectly. But I think if it was like a lit show with crowd surfing and shit like that, I think it would take the energy out of the building.
Well, it depends on what they're talking about, wouldn't it?
It would be hard for me to imagine that a comedian is getting somebody that riled up.
Wouldn't delivery and in energy play a huge part, just like it would in a show? Like
100%. So
Right.
that comedian would have to have some sort of archive that would make me believe that they're putting that energy.
Are
in
you
the
a fan of stand-up comedy?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on this little path. You know Drazy, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, he does some stand-up open mics too.
Do you know who Drazy is to me?
Oh no, who is he to you?
We were in a band together in high school.
No shit.
It was a band like Gym Class Heroes. He played the guitar and I rapped.
We talked about that. You should listen to that episode. I think so. Dude, he fucking. That's okay. This is all connecting now. So I did okay. So yeah, I did an episode with him. And he had talked about all that shit, and I'm just now fucking. That's all connecting.
That was my guitarist.
You're the fucking person that he's talking about. That's cool. Yeah, you should really listen to that episode. He talks a lot about that in that episode, man. I did an episode with him too.
Awesome,
he's
man.
another cool fucking guy, man. He's been through Jesus Christ, that guy's fucking story and that guy's life. Fucking shit, man.
Yeah.
That guy, I mean, the mental fortitude that man has. I mean, fuck, dude. Like, that's a beautiful soul right there, man. That's a good guy right there, and he's doing his own thing. But
we still keep in touch. I've made a couple appearances in his his little series and stuff like that. Definitely gonna keep in touch with him.
Yeah, he's a good fucking
probably,
dude.
man.
But me and him, I mean, we talked about it, but you know, we're gonna get on doing these open mics together. I've been doing it myself. Before I met him, I didn't know, but we actually, you know, before we knew each other, we were in, doing open mic stand-ups at the same places before we knew each other.
Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club.
Yeah, LOL and shit like that, and the Improv Downtown and shit like that. And yeah, man, like, I always found that interesting. It's an interesting dynamic, like in being able to carry yourself.
I've done it before.
Yeah, it's fun. Dude,
I have.
It's fun, man. It's an interesting. It's a very vulnerable place to be, and much of like.
I meant like pairing my show with a comedian.
Oh, you have?
I have done that before.
Oh no shit.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Cool. That's what I was saying. Like,
and I think it worked okay, but I felt like I absorbed what I said. I think like I would do a lot more of my alternative contemporary style music with a comedian, unless they were like a Dane Cook that had the energy to fucking.
It might be the fact that like the
you know what I mean?
Just kind of dropping that dynamic on people would be weird, because if they're expecting to go there and drink and fucking dance and fucking rage, and
if it was a comedian that had a following to where like, because I mean, once you're a comedian and you break past a certain tier, people are laughing at whatever you say.
Oh yeah,
because they follow you and they
yeah.
think that you're hilarious at whatever they found you at, and they're literally about to laugh before you even fucking finish the joke because they love you that much. I think I could that show paired with.
You see that?
I mean,
And that
would be amazing.
That
yeah.
thought right there, that's a very observational, fucking introspective thought. And that's what I was trying to get at, is that a lot of people are fucking not tuned in enough to even understand that. They're the people that are laughing at, even if it's a shit joke. They're the people that are so subscribed to somebody that they love that they're willing to laugh at whatever before they even say what they're
a
saying.
comedian gets a pass because he and rightfully so sometimes. Comedian will get a pass because he had like a really resonating performance
or
with
he
his
just built
fans.
himself up that market, and then it's like
I don't think Kevin Hart's funny anymore at all.
Just gonna fucking say that.
At
Jesus
all.
Christ. Cheers to that, man. I was just gonna
But
fucking
I
say
fucking loved him when he first was coming out, but now I just feel like it's a broken record with that
Same thing with
guy.
Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, when he was in hustle mode coming up, he was fucking pumping out
Absolutely,
fire. Then
man.
he got a fucking following, then he made some money, then he made some movies, then he got some
And
success.
now it's the same bit
Fell
with
off.
a different storyline, or like it's just the same thing over and over.
Or because they're just naturally talented and creative, they can put together something really quick to please a crowd for that night or for that moment.
Daniel Tosh, I feel like, is repetitive and just goes solely off shock value now. Like
Yeah.
it's not even like
just by saying like fucking a kid or something, he can now sustain his fucking level of popularity.
But now
because-
you know what you're getting with Daniel Tosh, so you're not even shocked when he talks about rape.
But some
or
people,
like something.
but some people don't think. Some people like that's kind of the observation I made about you, or the statement I made about you, is that you understand those things, man, and that's a good thing to have, because a lot of people are so droned out that they don't even pick up on that shit, man. Like they don't pick up on the repetitive bullshit that people are putting out, or just the easy shit that people are putting out. Like you can tell, like, man,
because it's back to the discomfort thing. I mean, like not smoking marijuana because you're uncomfortable, right? Same thing. I mean, it's easy to put on a comedian that you're comfortable with because you know what you're getting, and you know you can get the same laugh that you got 6 months ago. You know what I mean? It's the comfortability of it.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna wrap this shit up. I know you're moving. I know you got some shit to do.
Yeah.
I know you're a busy man.
Yeah.
So, is there any shows you want to plug, or anything any shout outs, anything you want to fucking throw out there?
One, first and foremost, get my album Undervalued Attention. It's available on all platforms right now: iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, all that good stuff. 16-track album. I worked hard on it, and I really think that there's something for everybody on there. Talk about a lot of different subjects.
And 16 tracks too. That's not a lot.
16 tracks.
That's way more. That's all. You could have broke that down into 2 albums these days. Most people don't put out 8 to 10 songs on an album now.
I could have. My plan is to just stockpile on content and just keep pushing Undervalued Attention, and then just string a wave of music
just
out there.
Stand behind that album and really push it.
Yeah, but I mean, just over the course of the next year or two, just drop singles and just keep staying relevant. I got 4 unreleased music videos, so I'm spacing all that out. They'll be coming out slowly, and then I just did my album release party / fashion show with the girls at Mel Keiko and Olivia. And that went well, so I'm actually going to do my going away party at Hotel Discotheque one more time at the end of September before me and my team move out to Vegas and take...
So all y'all are moving out?
All of us.
You and the management?
Me and the management team.
Okay.
Me, Patrick, and Frank are all moving out there and just try to take this thing to the next level.
When is the going away party?
It's going to be at the end of September. We don't have a date locked in yet. We have a meeting with Hotel Discotheque this Friday, so we'll get that locked in. But it'll be at the end of September, and I'll be gone by October.
You're going to have to let me know, man. I'll show up.
Please, man. We'll get you a media pass and everything. You can do a live podcast there real quick.
I would love to do that. That'd be awesome, man. That'd be sick.
That would be sick. We had Dom come out and do like a mini thing out there too.
No shit?
Yeah, so at the last event. And like I said, man, I always try to, I stole this idea from Pinterest.
Yeah.
You know those parties where you get a different colored cup and one color represents singles, one color represents in a relationship, one represents trying to fuck or whatever. So basically when you come to my events, you have to get a different color wristband, one representing industry artist, one representing supporter. That way you have
that's very cool.
the ability to be like, hey, like, why are you wearing that color wristband? You're an artist. What do you do? And that way
it provokes conversation.
Exactly. And then even if you're not an artist or you're not in the industry and you have a different color wristband, it gives the artist and industry an opportunity to gain a new client or a new fan.
Going back to the mixer thing you're talking about. You're a smart fucking man.
I try to do that at every event, man, and I feel like that is the reason I've been so successful, because I feel like now people aren't just coming to my shows to see me. Maybe it's not even about me anymore. They just want to meet fucking people, and
right.
I think that's what we've tried to make our events, man. So they're a lot of fun. End of September, be on the lookout for that, and then look out for a lot of new music coming out, man, for sure.
Well, man, thanks so much for doing this. I'm just gonna have to say, I've taken some fucking tips from you on this podcast, man. I think, and that's what this is all about. You know, you're a creative person. You're a very deep thinker. You're a very analytical person.
Thank you, man.
It's awesome, and it's not just because of your mindset. You're also producing some amazing content, some amazing music, and we can all go back to it. Like I said, music is a universal language, and I'm gonna take some tips from you, man. It was really cool meeting you, and thanks so much for doing the podcast. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me, man. Always a pleasure. I appreciate it, and I'll be putting this out.
That is the end of the podcast, you savages. Thank you for listening. Thanks for the support. Remember, the goddamn podcast is available on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play. Don't be shy. Rate, review, and subscribe. I really appreciate all the love and all the reaching out. It makes me, it definitely keeps me on track and makes me think I'm doing something right. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it, and bye-bye.